As parents, there's nothing more heart-wrenching than watching your child struggle with chronic health issues, whether it's autism, anxiety, ADHD, pandas, autoimmune issues, maybe it's asthma, allergies, sensory processing issues. Regardless, more and more parents that we see are coming to us because they've exhausted the traditional medical route. They've received little help from specialists, neurologists, all the top people that they know of, and more often than not, they've now started to try virtually everything natural and holistic as well. From detoxes to supplements to diet changes to chelation to primitive reflex evals, more and more and more, but the result isn't what they're looking for. What if I could tell you that there's a crucial piece to the healing puzzle that is often missing and often overlooked, even by the top specialists out there? In this video, we'll break down exactly what that foundational piece is, why it's so easily and often overlooked, and as a parent, the most important thing for you is understanding that healing for your child is less about doing all the things, but more importantly, it's about doing the things in the right order. So the sequence and the order of healing is actually the most critical part when it comes to getting your child fully recovered rather than just doing so much. To start then, I want to share the story of Freddie, who came to see us recently at 4.5 years old. I'm going to show you his scans. I'll just give you a preview here, show you these in a moment to better understand where we fit in the healing puzzle. But to begin, the outline of why Freddie came to us is he had had a recent autism diagnosis. When he was going to therapy, he had poor tone, weak core. He was scared to try new things and physically wasn't caught up. Earlier on in life, parents reported he had suffered from a lot of ear infections. He actually had 2 tube surgeries previously, and now the ENT was likely thinking he was going to need a third, as well as having his adenoids removed. So immune system was a big piece. He also was a poor sleeper. He was frequently constipated. He was a picky eater. And previously, he had also had a vision surgery and was going through vision therapy, but parents felt like he was starting to plateau. So when he came to see us, he had a lot going on, and parents had already tried a lot of things. Now, the challenge they felt is that they were getting stuck and plateaued. So in a moment, I'll share more about Freddie's scans and why he was stuck the way he was. But as a preview, the day after Freddie's first adjustment, I called mom to check in, and I said, "How did he do?" She said, "Well, the good news is that night he went home. He had a nice poop. So he went to the bathroom right away. He sat down for dinner, and instead of picking at his food and getting up and down a bunch of times and then saying he was hungry before bed, like he usually does, he actually sat down and ate his full meal. And when he went to bed that night, he dozed off and he slept through the whole night instead of getting up multiple times." As a disclaimer, this isn't what happens every time a child gets their first adjustment. But the point is, we started to look at things differently than all the other providers and practitioners he had seen previously. And so often parents are coming to see us because they think it's genetics, it's gluten, it's their gut. I know something's going on there. And what we're looking at is below that, the foundation of your child's health and healing actually has to do with their brain and their nervous system. That's the key to real healing and complete healing, because if we go back to when your child was in utero, the nervous system is actually one of the very first pieces to develop. It's one of the first pieces to develop because it controls and it coordinates everything else in the body. It coordinates the immune system. It controls the digestion. It controls the sleep and the wake response. It controls motor movements, fine motor, gross motor. It controls speech. It controls emotional regulation and behavior. It's a master control system for all of these things. So if the nervous system is stressed, if it's dysregulated, now all those other things are going to start to get thrown off track. And especially for a child that we see often in our office, if their nervous system is stuck in stress mode, now you might be trying therapies and nutrition and other modalities, but those treatments can't reach their full potential because they can't get past this stuck nervous system. Why does this happen? Well, there's 3 things that we lump into a category called the perfect storm. This is often how things first get off track. So The first piece often has to do with fertility, with maybe it's stressful to become pregnant, or while you are pregnant, there's a lot of stress happening. In Freddie's case, they had to do IVF because they had trouble conceiving. Mom had endometriosis, she had blocked tubes. During pregnancy, then once they did conceive, there was constant ultrasounds because of the IVF, which adds a level of stress and a level of pressure to mom. And during the last try, it actually was COVID. So now we add another big external stress that starts to get wired in the nervous system early on. The next piece, then, after pregnancy and fertility, the next huge piece that we see is one of the most common is labor and delivery. So maybe it's C-section, vacuum, forceps, things that stall, or maybe sometimes baby comes through super quick and doesn't have a chance to mold through the birth canal. What this does is often put stress on key parts of the neurospinal system early on when baby's born. Going back to Freddie's case, he was induced early because his heart rate was starting to be reduced. After 23 hours of labor, she still didn't dilate, so it ended up in an emergency C-section. After fertility, after labor and delivery, the third piece then that we see in this perfect storm that can contribute to a nervous system that's stuck in fight or flight is early exposure to antibiotics, toxins, things that can further compromise the nervous system, things that can trigger inflammation, things that can throw the gut off, weaken the immune system. So again, going back to Freddie's case, guess what? He had many rounds of antibiotics because of all the constant ear infections. He had tubes at 1.5 years old and 3 years old. So that means there was ear infections happening very frequently throughout his early childhood that he was taking a lot of antibiotics, which of course is going to throw off his gut and throw off his good flora and bacteria in his gut. He also had an eye surgery at 3 years old. So now he had extra anesthesia, extra stress early on. What happens then is things start to get shifted. In Freddie's case, these are his specific scans that we did on his first visit. And what we're looking for here are the white bars. If we see red, it's areas of extra stress for his nervous system. So you can see there's a lot up top here, which is common after a C-section delivery, especially because they often have to pull baby and twist baby to pull them out of the birth canal. This is going to really contribute into a lot of the fight-flight stuck on, especially for his nervous system, because the vagus nerve is one of the key nerves that acts as the brake pedal for the nervous system. If there is a lot of gas pedal happening, so gas pedal revs the engine up, just like you put your foot on the gas pedal of your car, we need a brake pedal to bring things back down. Gas pedal is a sympathetic, the fight-flight response. Brake pedal, a major component of the brake pedal is called the vagus nerve. It comes from the brainstem. So if there is early stress from labor and delivery, it often throws off this part of the nervous system, which is the key part to regulate the brake pedal because of the vagus nerve. We see that in Freddie's scans. The other big piece we see is disconnection through his core and imbalance there. So if we go back to the middle here, you can see right through here, these bars are way bigger on the left than they are on the right. So no wonder he had a weak core. No wonder he couldn't progress through OT the way the therapists were hoping. One of the cool things after his early adjustments is he started to do new movements that he wasn't doing previously. As an example, mom said he started doing like this leap frog where he was bending down and leaping forward. That lets us know we're getting new connection between his brain and his muscles. So while PT was trying to get new motor patterns and new movement patterns in his muscles, his nervous system was stuck and preventing that connection from happening. He started to climb to higher things, jump off higher things because he felt more comfortable in his body. His body felt more fluid and connected. Now, with that context here, what is the order of nervous system development and why is the order so important? What did we do differently that his other practitioners didn't do when it comes to the nervous system? So if we bring this up here, it's going to show you that hierarchy of neurological development. And ultimately, what we're always looking for is what is the foundation? Because if the foundation isn't strong, the other therapies, the other treatments can't be as effective as we want them to be. What I'm going to do now, so there's a lot of words on this slide, so I'm going to zoom in to the very bottom. Here you see we have what's called the autonomic nervous system. This is, of course, the things that happen on autopilot. Things like digestion, things like sleeping, things like eating, swallowing, nursing. These are the early pieces that when a baby's born, we want eat, sleep, and poop to be on autopilot. This is why we were so excited after Freddie's first adjustment that he went home, he had a poop, he ate a full meal, and he slept through the night. It lets us know this part of the nervous system that we want on autopilot was really starting to get back online and engage. Now, as a baby gets a little bit older, they need to start to lift their head. They need to look around to see the world. They need to start to roll, to sit, to crawl, to walk. This is where the motor system comes into play. This is commonly where we see kids when they're doing things like PT and OT, as they're trying to work on movement patterns, fine motor, gross motor. A lot of OTs work with primitive reflex integration. They work with trying to get better sensory processing, whether it's under-responsive or over-responsive. They're working at this level to get things back on track. Now, in our office, the scans that we do, the first scan that I showed you here is actually measuring specifically on this motor system level. There's 2 other scans we're not going into today, but these help give us a baseline for the autonomic. That's another key piece with Freddie's situation. Ultimately, as he started to eat, sleep, and poop, now he's saying, okay, cool, I got things online. I'm going to start to leapfrog and get different movement patterns. And as we go through a child now, their development, once they are starting to lift their head, to turn, to maybe start to roll, now they need to start to introduce solids. So it's the next level of gut involvement. They need to learn to start to fight off bugs on their own. And again, in Freddie's case, when he was more constipated, he was getting a lot of ear infections. It lets us know that this level was off too. And then at the very top is one of the more common reasons parents bring their kids to our office. It's the brain-based things. And if your kiddo has autism, as an example, if your kiddo is anxious, if your kiddo has difficulty regulating emotions, they have a lot of behaviors, tantrums, meltdowns, if they can't go out into public without being overwhelmed, maybe teachers reporting about ADHD and focus and attention issues. All these things are at the very top of the pyramid. Speech is in this category as well. So a lot of times parents come in because they want a change here, or maybe they're doing some gut protocols to try to decrease brain inflammation, doing detox to do the same thing. They're trying to say, let's do some behavioral therapy. They're trying to get this to change, which is great if the foundation of the pyramid is strong. So that's one of the most critical pieces that we see. And going back to Freddie's case, by starting here and building upward, now it's going to allow his brain to do so much better. So even though he has an autism diagnosis, we're going to start to build the foundation of his pyramid to get his nervous system as a whole much stronger and much healthier. And this is going to allow now his nervous system to be strong, to lay the foundation, so when he does go to those other therapies, other modalities, other specialists, it actually has the resources to do what it needs to do to thrive and to heal. So if that resonates, please reach out for more information. If you have questions, if you have comments, feel free to message us. We are here for you. And if you're in the Twin Cities, we'd love to see, what does your child's scans look like? We're here for you to be able to give you that baseline, because if we do a set of scans on your child, these neurological scans are very safe, very gentle. We have a series that we do that nothing goes in the body, nothing comes out of the body. And what they do is give us a baseline of, at a foundational level, what is your child's nervous system doing? And if it's set up for success, great. Then doing those other modalities or those other therapies, your child's ready to thrive from them. However, if there's stress at the foundational level, it means that you might be putting in a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of appointments, and just not seeing the results that you're looking for. So if that sounds like you, reach out. We're here for you. We'd love to see what your child's scans look like. Talk to you soon.